What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. We're talking about Tua still. This Tua firestorm has gotten a lot out of control, and honestly, we all saw this coming. The minute Tua got there at the presser and said what he said, we knew it was going to be a whole thing, and it's been a whole thing. I've seen countless outlets talk about it. I've seen former coaches talk about it, former players talk about it. It hasn't stopped. So James Palmer works for The Athletic, and he's like an insider for them. And he went around the league talking to former players, former coaches, and to a man, they all said this was a mistake on Tua's part. Can't do this. We know things happen in players-only meetings. We know things happen on the internal locker room thing. You can't talk about it. You can't bring it out. You especially can't do it because you're the quarterback. This is a universal thing. I think it's the reason it becomes such a hot button situation is because it's not that he did it, is that he did it while he's playing poorly. I think if Tua was like playing like Baker Mayfield right now and he did it, they will still be like, he shouldn't be doing it, but he's balling, i.e. how last year Joe Burrow was playing. If Joe Burrow said, man, they got a team, we not locked in, Joe was out here throwing 350 yards a game. Like, people would have been like, all right, Joe, he getting it. He can say it. Because Tua's had a objectively terrible season and the team's playing poorly, him saying it had a little bit extra weight to it. I only took this as him just like spraying like the whole team with his negativity. But James continued. He said he kept talking to insiders, and apparently there's some speculation that this is specifically designated for a player, not a bunch of people, not like the whole DB group. There is a singular player that has shown up late for most of the meetings, not doing the players only meetings, and I got to assume it's a player who isn't playing well. So I don't think it's Devon Achane. I don't think it's Jalen Waddle. I don't know who it would be. They didn't say who the person was, but I imagine that might come out by the time you see this, because if they say there's smoke, someone's going to say, here's the fire. That's how that works. The minute you bring up, hey, there's somebody specific not doing their job, I'll tell you what, I better not find out this is Jonah not showing up to meetings, being the worst guard in the league right now. We going to have beef. We going to have beef if you're not doing your job well and not showing up to the players' meetings. Okay. Hopefully it's somebody else, but it better not be Jonah, because that's absurd. But I'm guessing we're going to figure out who it is. Tua also has not apologized, which I'm kind of surprised about. Even though I said in yesterday's show, don't expect Tua to like do a real apology. Expect them to do some kind of skirt around of, sometimes they heat a moment, but we got to lock in. Like, Tua's not going to take accountability. That's not what he's here for. But I haven't even heard that. He's just been kind of letting it rock, and people haven't stopped talking about it. So I'm not sure if the strategy was, if I stop talking about it, maybe it'll go away. That doesn't seem to be what's happening. I feel like more people are picking it up. I've had more podcasters hit me up who do Dolphins content being like, yo, man, what's up with your man's Tua? And I'm like, oh, this is a thing. And Tua's on a bunch of things that maybe are worthy of this, but I don't know. It's getting a little spooky out there. So we did the talk yesterday about Bradley Chubb being on a trade block. Jalen Phillips is the other player who was like the most on the block. I think it's fully predictable and really expected that neither of these guys is going to be on the team past November 4th. Jalen Phillips has been healthy this year. Healthy. He has not played well. He could have ended the Chargers game. Lost in this whole Tua post-game talk and, some really bad plays by certain players and blah, blah, blah. If Jalen Phillips makes that sack, we most likely win the game. It's going to be, 4th and 19? They got to burn the timeouts, and they got no timeouts left. Like, it's very likely we win the game, especially if it's a sack, fumble. But Jalen missed the sack. Now, he did get knocked off his axis by Chop, but that's also whatever. You got to sharpen your angle, make a better play. That being said, Jalen Phillips has not been good this year, but he is healthy. And I think a lot of people believe in his potential. He's shown flashes when he is healthy, when he plays, he could be borderline Pro Bowler. We've seen that. Unfortunately, he gets hurt a lot. So this year, he just needs to be healthy. Right now, he is healthy, so he's valuable at the trade as a trade piece. What can we expect from him? I think he's younger than Bradley Chubb is. Bradley Chubb is going into year, like he's going to be 30 soon. But Bradley Chubb's been balling this year. Like Bradley Chubb has been better this year, so I can understand why Chubb maybe in this moment might demand a higher price because he's been better. Jalen Phillips has a more potentially bright future, right? Like I think when they're both at their best, I think Jalen is better, but Jalen's also younger, and Bradley's got injury concerns too. So it's not like he's like the pillar of health and then Jalen's not. If Jalen is healthy and teams think he can be an impact player, I think a fourth round pick is very much on the board. Uh, if a team's desperate enough, maybe a 3. I don't see a 2 or a 1. I don't think he's shown that much. He would have to be 100% healthy and get 12 to 14 sacks, and then maybe you can get a second round pick for him. But I think Miami's got to figure out because they don't want to pay him next year. Right? He's in a 5th-year option right now. Even a 1 year at a player of his caliber, you're talking close to $20 million. And 20 is low balling it because the highest is Micah at 47. Then it's like 41 and a half for Myles Garrett. So what? He's only get paid half of what Myles Garrett gets paid. I don't know if he would even take that. I think he would probably want a 2-year 60 with like 45 guarantee kind of thing, which is still like $22.5 million a year. So I don't think they want to pay him that much money. So I think you have to trade him because you don't want to pay him. We paid Bradley Chubb, and then he basically hasn't delivered what we paid him. So I understand why he needs to go too. I think you're going to see the same situation with Chubb. I think the desperation is going to get high. I think there might even be a D-end or 2 that gets hurt between now and November 4th, and he'll be out of here. I think if we get a 4th-round pick, we've done well. 3rd-round pick, I think that's, especially if it's 3rd-round pick from a bad team, a team like the Raiders, a team like the Jets, a team that just stinks, that where the 3rd-round pick is like early in the 3rd, we got some money. That's my hope for it. We will see what happens. I mean, I like Jalen and Bradley. I don't want either of them to go, but I'm in the mindset that we're in a rebuild. And I don't see either of those guys as being pieces we're going to build around because you can't build around undependable pieces, and that's what they both are. So it's no hate, no beef, not even pushing you out the door. I'm just saying the door's open. So Coach McDaniel went on another rambling, not even a tirade, just like a ramble, because after every game he meets with Owner Ross, and they talk about the state of the team. And I think this is why some outlets have said that Coach McDaniel is like on a warm seat, not a hot seat, because it seems like him and the owner are more or less on the same page. I think he would only be on the hot seat if the owner is here and he's here, and they're just not like bridging the gap. If y'all see and feel the same way, you obviously like each other's company. He likes you as a coach. He hired you. Like I kind of see how Coach might not be fireable. I put this on TikTok and people were not happy about it. Where I'm like, I can see a scenario where Coach Daniel doesn't get fired, and they're like, "What?" And I was just like, I can see it. I can see it. I can see them being like, you know what? We didn't give him the best roster. We're bringing him back, right? But anyway, fans are mad right now. If you watch the game on TV, a lot of empty seats, right? After every loss, there's a flyover that just says "Fire McDaniel," "Fire Greer." Like this has been 3 games in a row they've been doing that. It's when people don't show up, that's hurting the bottom line. When people are flying signs saying fire people, that's not good. When team morale goes down, that's bad. So they asked Coach McDaniel, like, what was it like talking to Stephen Ross? What y'all talk about? Give us some insights into what your discussion was. And he said, after the game, the main thing is that he's experiencing a loss like all of us. All you know, I think it's a 4th loss this season that we've had that in the final 5 minutes of the 4th quarter, we had a different outcome available to us, let's just say, and then the focus on what we need to do as a team to try to correct this. And each time that you have a situations like that where you're disappointed, the best way to do something about it is to focus on Cleveland. So that's what we talked about. That was the extent of it. I don't think that was the extent of it. Let me just say that. I think I think that is the gist of it. I think everything he said was covered in our meeting. Let me say that. I'm not gonna call Coach an outright liar. I do think he talked about that. I also think that Coach is like, Steven was like, hey, come on now. like I want to keep you. This is what I think the conversation is. Pure speculation. Take this with a grain of salt. I think Stephen Ross is telling Coach McDaniel, I don't want to fire you. Make it easy for me not to fire you. Like, don't keep going out there laying stinkers. Don't go out there and keep blowing 4-quarter leads. Don't keep having team morale issues and behind-the-scenes drama. I want to bring you back. But if you keep messing up, you're going to force my hand. Also, everything Coach McDaniel just said. Like, I think he did cover all those things. But I think the core of the conversation isn't how do we not be 1-5? Because the season is the season. And we can blame injuries to some degree. But honestly, we haven't executed late in games. We talked about when we get penalties. We talked about fourth quarter drives. We've seen Tua's ineptitude in those situations. I think Stephen Ross does not want to fire Coach McDaniel. That's my belief. And I think any way he can massage it to not fire him, he's going to figure out a way to do it. But if you go 1-16, I don't know how you massage that. But if you win like 4 of your last 5 games, then you can say, we started terribly. We saw the games. We started the game with the Colts, who just dog walked us. But in the last 5 games of the year, we went 4-1. Rush defense got better. Tua got good. Our running game got established. That's something we can build on for next year. And then that's how you justify keeping the coach around. Because if you fire the coach, what are you building off on? He's starting from scratch. So I can see Stephen Ross trying to put in his head, give me something to hold on to. Give me something I can work with. And I think that's the goal. It's like, I just need something to give to the fans. Because the fans are fed up. You guys are on the message boards. You're on this podcast. You listen to other people. You watch it on TV. Fans are fed up. You just can't keep doing this to your people. We're barely better than Jets fans. Guys, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's that's what I think the conversation was really about. Because he never talks about in these conversations about, yeah, Steven told me, like, Esther, get off the pot. Or, like, he doesn't get into that stuff. But I think the conversation is, come on, man. Give me something. Or change something up. But, yeah, give me something I can work with. And I think that's really what they're talking about. We need to revisit the conversation around team culture. Because this whole offseason, they were talking about culture from January through now. Yo, man, the culture's strong, man. We're hanging out. We're doing pickleball together. We're going to steak dinners. I went to my man's house. We played cards. We talked about being tough. Devon Achane was in the preseason talking to, like, people doubting us. Well, let's say y'all talk during the year. Jalen Wright said I could be one of the top backs in the league. Bradley Chubb was talking with his whole chest. Patrick Paul, who admittedly is mostly backed up what he said, was like, I'm built for this. I'm built different. I mean, everybody was talking like, yo, man, the culture's so much stronger. We're holding each other accountable. We make each other run laps. And then the season happens. After the first game, you have a players-only meeting. So, culture. And then a couple weeks go by, blown out, run defense is terrible. Apparently, the other players-only meetings behind the scenes we didn't even know about, people blowing them off, not showing up. Then the quarterback going out, putting them on blast. Then the coach having to kind of try to walk the quarterback back, but now him and the quarterback on the line publicly. So what do we do about that? And then the question is, what was all that culture talk? What's the culture? If anything, you can honestly say the culture today for Miami is probably worse than the culture was last year. I think that's a reasonable statement. At no point last year was Coach and Tua at odds. Now, Tua was hurt for a lot of last year. Fine. But they weren't at odds. We thought Anthony Weaver was doing a good job. He was taking his defense and molding it and getting the most he could out of it with a lot of older guys and vets. We thought that was great, right? Devon Achane showed flashes. We know what that is. Tyreek and Waddle took a step back, but we had atrocious quarterback play. We know what was going on there. But the team culture didn't feel like it was bad last year. It felt like our starting quarterback is hurt. Our 2 best pass rushers are hurt. And we're trying to, like, manufacture a pass rush, which if you can't rush a passer, you basically can't play defense anymore. And we don't have a guy throwing the ball. We got multiple guys playing quarterback that probably shouldn't be playing quarterback. Or, like in Huntley's case, I don't think he knows the plays that well. That's a good excuse. And we still won 8 games. So I don't think the culture was bad in that regard. Yes, there were guys insubordinate to the coach. Yes, there were guys who weren't coming to meetings. I'm sure there are guys who were probably mailing it in to some degree. That's not good culture. But it didn't make it public. Like, we found out this year about bad culture last year. And some of that was Tyreek. Some of that was Jalen. Some of that was Javon. Like, a lot of guys, like Jonnu, a lot of guys who aren't here anymore. But this year, you can't really blame Tyreek, which is what people were going to go. Like, Tyreek is like a cancer to the culture. It's really just like Where's Coach McDaniel and Tua align on leadership and accountability? I think they both actually have the same fatal flaw, which is a really tough place to be. Basically, the teams that have a good culture, a team like Philadelphia has a good culture. The Chiefs have the best culture, period. They've won. They have the best quarterback. They seem like they're having fun. Fine. Detroit, great culture. Typically, good culture is attached to winning. There are very few teams that say our culture is good and we don't win. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. And teams that don't have a good culture lose a lot. I don't know what the Jets' culture is. They used to be defense running the ball. Not that anymore. Miami, what's our culture? Nothing. What's the Saints' culture? Spencer Rattler might be okay, but what are we doing on defense? Like, what's the culture? Miami's talked all this season about we want to be tougher, and we have the worst run defense in the league. We want to be tougher and get out the people. We get no sacks. We talk about our quarterback should be ranked higher, and he keeps throwing picks and throwing teams under the bus. Like, what's the culture here? Like, what are we recalibrating? Because I don't think all that stuff was in vain. Like, hear me when I say this. I do think all the efforts toward making the culture better do make the culture better. What I'm afraid of is that the culture may have been at 0 and all that offseason work got us like a 30, which is still an F. But it's 30 points better than where we were before. That's my fear. Like, we did all this stuff in the offseason. Everybody was talking. We all seemed to align on culture. And I think the culture is better, but it was like, maybe we didn't realize how broken the culture was. Because there was winning games last year. There were manufacturing wins with bad quarterback play and special teams and Sanders being like the best kicker in the league for 2 months. We were just finding ways to make it happen. And so maybe that masked where the culture wasn't good. But now the mask is off. Like, we can see each other's faces, and it's not good. There's worms coming out of it, right? I don't know what the culture is. I imagine the only way to win anything this season and salvage anything is to establish a culture going forward. Because what we have now doesn't work. I honestly think Tua shouldn't be at the podium almost ever. That might be an extreme take. I don't want to hear Tua talk unless we just win a game. That's where I'm at. And it's not because I don't like Tua. It's because I think he's more likely to say something to damage the culture than to say something to make the culture better. That's my fear. Coach McDaniel was going to do his quirky interview talk thing. I would honestly prefer if he just kept it concise. If he just had a prepared statement, I'm fine with it. Because the rambling seems incoherent when you're not winning. When you're winning, it's like, oh, I see how his brain works. It's like this beautiful weave of nonsensical genius or whatever. When you're losing, you're just talking in circles. People are like, yo, what are you talking about? Like, it's frustrating to watch when you know you can see there's fight in this team. This team didn't give up. They haven't given up this year. But it feels like there's so many obstacles in the way of the team succeeding that it's just like, what do we do? Like, what do you do? Like, I think that's why when I did my how do you rebuild analysis, my first thought is even more so fortify the trenches. Because if you're good on the O&D line, your worst case scenario is like the Colts, who are a good team. Best case is like Philadelphia. You're the champ. I don't think the Colts are going to win a championship this year. But who knows? But the Colts at their lowest level is a playoff team, run the ball well, quarterback's protected, they get after your quarterback. Philadelphia, dominant in all three of those. 2 championship games in like 3 years. That's the ceiling for it. I don't see Detroit as another team like that. Their D-line is the questionable. Hutchinson is good. O-line is awesome, though. But it's like, we got to start somewhere. You can't have an attitude when you always get punched in the face. That doesn't work. I think we got to rebuild from the studs almost. But we got to figure out this culture thing because I still don't know what the culture is this many games into the year. I feel like I know less about the culture now than I knew last year. I don't know what to do with that. But as always, y'all, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and the subscribes. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily.